effects. What I'm gonna do today is to plug the insert point into insert points external effects for the console soundtrack today. We are using this insert points what we've got above every channel. Just now I'm gonna set up the compressor or gate on the first channel. So I'm using two leads to do it. One for ascent, second one for the return. So what I'm doing, I'm plugging it in that way. On the other side of our multi-core, I'm grabbing the next two leads with the number 7 on it and plug it in into effects unit like that way. Now we should be able to get the signal on the first channel. Next thing what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna apply a compressor into the channel 13 what is a vocal on it. Taking next lead using the insert points. We change. I'm using a compressor what we've got on the bottom here. Next thing what I'm gonna do is apply the EQ for outputs. So we are looking for 11 and 12. Send, return. On the other side, got those channels prepared as well. What I'm doing is setting up the channels. So 11 for left channel, like we plugged it in. We've got it on a top in the track. So plugging it that way. And channel 12 right on the bottom. Now we've got set up EQ for it. That's our channel strips, stereo one on the left and mono one on the right. Gain section is the top section of our strips, and on both of them we've got buttons like 48 volt phantom switch, just switching on the phantom power, 20 dB pad, what just allows us to cut off our signal for 20 dB down if it's too high. We've got gain trigger, what allows us to add or take off some gain. We've got line, what is just a button, what applies the line input into our strip, or if it's off through our strip, it's flowing the signal from XLR input. PK is just peak diode. Polarity reverse button is really useful thing because when we've got a problem concerning phase on our gig, we just put in it, changing slightly the phase of the signal, and we've got the problem solved. The next part for both types of strips is slightly different. For a stereo strip, we've got a high pass filter, what is just 80 Hz pad, what means everything under 80 Hz is cut off of our signal. For the mono strip, we've got adjustable high pass filter with an extra bypass button for it. What is an extra unit for the stereo strip? We've got left and right channel switches. That's our equalizer section. So on both strips we've got 4-band EQ and EQ on-off switch. What is slightly different for the mono strips, the EQ is adjustable, so we've got extra gain button what allows us to show how much gain we want for certain frequency. Accents. So for every single strip we've got 10 accents, 5 pre-post EQ, that's for the first pair 1 and 2 is the first pre-post button, for the 3-4 is the second one, and going further that way. The next part is the GRPS. That's a part of the strip what shows the 4 subgroups. The extra stuff on the mono strip is just aux preq button, what when we've got it in a place for all the sends, we have no EQ on that. Next section is a fader section, the probably most useful thing. So on every of them we've got mute button, fader, input meter, VCA indicators, and solo button or VCA select button key. Our input meter shows us how high is the input level on our strip. VCA indicators are showing for what VCA subgroups we are sending our signal. That's our main section, the master section. So we've got view meters, stereo effects returns with freeband EQ, really useful. Rotary output section with AFL switch, that's useful as well. We've got fader output section with pan, and under that we've got VCA. Here we've got our view meters for our 8 outputs, left and right outputs, and under that the center output, for example for subwoofers. Under the view meters we could see the 4 strips, what are the stereo effects returns with freeband EQ on that. Why EQ on that? It's really useful, being honest, because for example, let's imagine we've got 2 match low frequencies on our reverb unit and we want to cut it off. It's really useful because when we've cut that EQ, we just cut it off the low frequencies and we've got the problem solved. Here we can see our sense section. On the top we've got the rotary faders for sense. Under that we've got LFL button. Later we've got blue button, which I'll tell about later. Under that we can see the yellow pans for that, and under that we could see the faders for those same outputs. What we could use for our units is or faders or the knobs, depending of what position has a blue button what is under the AFL. When it's in, the faders are in use. When it's out, the knobs are in use. That's our VCA sliders, faders. So for what they are, for example, let's imagine during a gig you notice your drums are louder than all the rest of instruments, but you're sure your mix for drums is perfect and you don't want to change the value of the single drums. So you could apply all of the drums to VCA1, and then it helps you to get a good level of drums. So you could, with moving one slider VCA1 up, you're changing the volume of drums higher, or moving it down, changing the volume to the lower. Here we've got our master section, that's the last section for our signal path. So we've got left and right output, center output for a bass, for example, for sub bass, and on the side of that we've got 2-track and our monitoring section just for us. So that's whole path of our system. Thanks a lot.